Yes, guys. So we caught a lovely little intraday setup here on BTC 2-1. We took some partials. Well, the majority of the position has actually been taken, to be fair, and it happened within the New York session. A lot to go over. I'm going to walk you through the position for those of you that didn't see the reason why yesterday, and also some of the nitty gritty intraday timeframe confluences that we've added to the overall thesis. Yeah, but this was a nice trade to take today, and I'll walk you guys through the reason why we took it. Yeah, so it all starts off on the higher time frame, like we spoke about. A few reasons as to why we felt slightly bullish in the short term this week was just off the back of the daily time frame, right? We've got, when we look at the attitude of this market and the sell-off initially, yeah. Oh, bring me my thing back. When we look at the attitude in the market initially, off the back of this sell-off, yeah. Let me go to the 12 hour actually. So the 12-hour POC, this is where the majority of the volume was on the 12-hour time frame, which caused this cascade of selling, right? Huge orders being built up within this contextual range, and then we've kind of sold up, and we've done so in a really thin, loose, fast way, right? And we've come straight into oversold territory. We did speak about how these bounces don't need to be sustained much higher, okay? But the reason why I feel like this bounce might sustain slightly higher is just purely because I feel like a lot of this can be repriced. Most of this could be repriced and we could see a rollover. I'm not in the camp where I feel like Bitcoin does some massive V-shaped reversal and we start trading higher. I do feel like we're going to roll over slightly back in and retest or take out these lows before anything else. All right, so that's where my head is. Could be wrong, but that's what I think. And when we look on the daily time frame, we've got this nice thin liquidity here, right, off the back of this nice little bounce. And I feel like this thin liquidity could definitely see price be magnetized up towards in an alignment with this higher time frame, not really higher time frame, but this weekly liquidation cluster, which has occurred at 77,000, right? And that is no coincidence that it's happened beautifully off the back of this sell here, right? Or these intraday sell orders that you can see, right? So we've got this liquidation cluster here at this key level. Liquidation cluster here at this key level in an alignment with this potential moving average could be, we could see a retest of this moving average as well. So I'm just mapping out where I think price action could potentially go in the short term. And I feel as though we might see this come to fruition this week. Yeah. So off the back of that, that was where my head was. Okay. We felt like price we had the wind in our sails to the upside, right? So it was slightly bullish in the short term with an overall kind of bearish, higher time frame feel, but you can't go up without going down. You can't go down without going up short term, right? The markets don't just fall. There's a supply and demand. There's a value exchange that needs to happen between buyers and sellers, which means that there has to be some sort of repricing. There has to be all of these different intraday moves and stuff and liquidity seeks and all these different things that you guys know about, yeah? So overall kind of target intra-week is this $77,000 price point. We did speak as well about how we had this beautiful liquidation cluster forming on this level here. Yeah. Another thing as well which caught my eye is the fact that this 4 hour RS moving average. And look, these aren't the be all and end alls, but you do have to kind of like build a confluence. When we've had such a very clear, strong trend, right? Which is traded significantly below an indicator, whatever that indicator is. In this case, it's the 20 EMA on the 4 hour. We broke out of it. Okay, so this was a little shift. We have traded back below, but we did break out of it, right, off the back of this bounce. When we go into lower time frames, then, right, and the reason why I took this entry, when we look at these are basically these levels. Let me just remove this a second so you can see things a bit clearer. These are 1 hour levels, right? This is just 1 hour levels where I feel as though there's liquidity and we could see the market trade back up into these prices and take them out. So these are essentially targets. We've taken some out at TP1 and we're going to let the runners run, right? And we've moved stops to break even. I can't lose any money on this trade. So I've made a nice little bit on, we doubled up on our money and it was a nice little intraday position. I'm happy with it, right? So when we look and we look at the overall price action, what do you see? You see an intraday, intra-week trend, okay? And when we pull up the sessions, there was a high formed on New York on Monday, okay? And since then we've traded lower and we've had a really beautiful trend formed into Asia. It stuck with Asia. So this is telling me that the intra-week price action, the program is, the market is willing to sell lower than it was previously. And this has happened until New York opened today, where we set a lower low, and then we broke out of this trend and we took out this high. That was enough for me to get interested in terms of direction, okay? And obviously I was still in the camp because the liquidation cluster hadn't been taken out yet, I thought this would be really nice to take out this liquidation cluster, deviate, show some strong willingness on the intraday charts to reclaim this level, which we've seen on the 5-minute chart. We had this beautiful candlestick come in. Okay. I was going to enter on this candlestick, but the market pulled back quite nicely and I got a better entry. So I took it off the back of that retest. It was somewhere in and around here. And then the market continues to trade higher and we got a really nice position in the New York session, in and out. We're leaving some runners now. I do feel as though the market will continue to trade higher. It feels like we've broken out and shifted in this trend. Okay. I could even re-enter tomorrow, and I might do. If we get taken out with our stop losses at break even, I might re-enter with a bit more of a longer term swing, intra-week swing, to take out these highs in the anticipation of we kind of seek out and trade through this thin liquidity here. Yeah. That's the overall play. And it's like, you guys, you're building confluence. You've got your direction. You've got your thesis as to why you think the market might go in a certain direction in the short to mid-term or the higher time frame term. And then you're looking for further arguments on the lower time frames and a way to get a really pinpoint entry. Yeah. And that's what we've done today. It's essentially just a momentum trade. Higher time frame momentum backed with a really nice deviation of a key level where we've kind of got the incentive and we've got that confirmation that the exchanges are happy. A bit of manipulation happened. Now the liquidity is there to kind of move prices higher, and it was perfect. It played out brilliantly. You guys can see now in real time that this stuff works. Yeah. But that's it. Let's see how this maps out. So my thinking is we might exhaust now as New York closes, heading into New York close. I can't imagine the move. There's a lot of volume that's just occurred here today. Like obviously we've tried to trade this significantly higher. It's a bit of a choppy price action, but we've kind of might have the short-term direction. I do feel as though now, next point of call is obviously to break out these highs. In an ideal world, we can kind of come down, maybe retest, and we can take a bit more of a longer swing and maybe look to trade back up. But time works against you, yeah? And this is why you've got to be careful, because money was made here. In these environments with uncertainty, huge macro data coming around the corner and big shifts happening politically and fiscal wise and monetary wise, you don't want to be holding these long trades that are counter trend trades, right? When we look at the higher time frame, okay, below the daily, we're trading below the daily SMA 50 and below the EMA on the 20, right? So as far as I'm concerned, we're in a bearish trend right now, right? This is bearish. The market's bearish, okay? From a trading point of view, we don't need to be taking these long swing bets against price action. If we're going to do that, make them shorter. So what I would do, and this is how I would get potentially interested, is looking to take a smaller little position, right? Something like this, where I could look to take out these highs here, right? And then we can kind of play it by ear. You can see there's a lot of nice liquidity to take out. And there does feel like this can be repriced, but we don't need to be heroes and we don't need to be holding positions in this environment. It's like you're setting sail against the tide, right? You want to be kind of in and out. You might want to go dip your toes in, but you don't want to be setting sail out there because you're just going to struggle. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. Proofs in the pudding. You got to just build the confluences. Once you have the knowledge, you piece things together and you manage risk correctly and you're willing to take the bets. Like just going back again without making this too long. It's like, this trade it wasn't like a predefined strategy, but it's like I'm a lawyer and I'm building a case like we used to talk about back in the cryptonary days, where it's like, okay, I'm going to convict this felon. Here's my case. Do you think he should go to jail? And it's like, if I'm building a case and an argument as to why I think prices might go higher in this session, it's not, is it going to happen? It's, am I willing to take the bet? I can't take this book out because my camera's leaning on there. Annie Duke Thinking in Bets will teach you this perfectly. The quality of your decision isn't always determined by the outcome. Yeah. Sometimes you will have some of the best ideas and hypotheses that won't be met with a positive result. And that's fine. That's the game we play. This trade could have lost, right? And that's fine. But as your job as a trader is to kind of continue that process of refinement, understanding elements that you can add to your game and creating these really strong hypotheses and just continuing to execute on them. Don't allow, maybe if this could lose, I could lose 3 or 4 trades this week, and a trader without my experience might allow that to jeopardize their thinking, might allow that to jeopardize the way they think. Let me just bring this bigger. Might jeopardize the way they think, might jeopardize the way they start to participate in the market. And you might, start to look for other things, but doing this a long time now. Yeah. If you add more confluences to your argument and you add more weapons to your arsenal, you're painting a more solid, strong picture. Yeah. And you just got to take that bet and make sure that you control the amount that you're betting. You're not over betting. You're not getting too giddy. I could have 4 or 5 winning trades. And if I start getting giddy thinking I'm made, I could have one trade that could lose and wipe me out of all my profit. It's about understanding what we're doing here. That was actually a small size because I'm trading, it's a counter trend trade, right? I'm not in alignment with the overall trade. If I had this similar scenario, right, in reverse, okay, if I had this scenario in reverse and it was in alignment with this trade, with this trend, yeah, it was up here. Wow, I would size that differently. And it's your job as a trader to start to understand yourself, start to understand your strategy, start to understand your hypotheses, and sticking to certain criteria. That's where you stay disciplined, okay? But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. There's gonna be plenty more of this. I hope you guys are learning as well. Keep firing out the feedback in the DMs and whatnot. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Nice one.